You stare at the screen until your eyes burn, waiting for those three rhythmic dots to dance across the interface, but they never appear. The timestamp under your last message remains frozen, a digital tombstone marking the end of a conversation that you thought was still breathing. That little gray scene notification is not a technical glitch or a momentary distraction. It is the most violent act of communication you will ever experience. We live in a culture obsessed with the tragedy of the breakup speech, the tearful confessions, the long-winded paragraphs explaining why it isn't working, or the dramatic slamming of a door. We romanticize the closure of a conversation. But the reality of modern human interaction is far more clinical and cold. The truth is that when someone decides to stop replying, they aren't ignoring you. They are choosing to stop existing in your world. They're opting out of the labor of pretending. Most people spend weeks, sometimes months, replaying their final texts, wondering if their tone was too needy, or if they should have sent a follow-up meme to break the ice. You are looking for a reason in a vacuum. You are trying to find a rhythm in a song that has already been cut off at the power source. The silence is not an accident. It is a deliberate architecture. When someone reads your message and chooses not to offer a single syllable in return, they're effectively telling you that your input is no longer worth the mental expenditure of a response. It is the ultimate demotion. You go from being a protagonist in their daily narrative to a background notification that can be swiped away with a thumb. We cling to the delusion that busyness is the culprit. We invent excuses for them. Perhaps they got distracted. Perhaps they are handling a personal crisis. Perhaps their phone died and they lost their charger. But let's be brutally honest, we all know how the digital age works. A human being who is genuinely interested in you will move mountains to ensure the connection remains intact. If they want to talk, they will. If they want to clarify, they will. The silence is not a lack of time, it is a lack of priority. It is the conscious decision to let the conversation starve to death rather than admit they have lost interest. It is a coward's exit, disguised as a quiet withdrawal. Consider the cruelty of the scene status. It is a tether that keeps you anchored to the hope of a response. It confirms that the message was delivered, that the information was processed, and that the recipient effectively decided that you, and your effort, did not warrant a reciprocal gesture. This is not just a lack of manners, it is a complete erasure of your presence. When you keep checking the app, you are essentially knocking on a door that you already know is locked from the inside. You are investing energy into an empty space. You rationalize the silence because accepting it feels like a defeat. You believe that if you wait long enough, they will eventually feel the weight of their own rudeness and return. But they won't. By not responding, they have stripped you of your right to close the chapter. They have taken the pen out of your hand. They have left you stranded in the middle of a sentence, forcing you to deal with the unfinished business of a relationship that was never even given the dignity of a formal conclusion. We need to stop viewing these interactions through the lens of etiquette and start viewing them through the lens of power dynamics. Silence is a weapon. It is a way to exert control without ever having to face the discomfort of a direct confrontation. It allows the other person to walk away unscathed, leaving you to clean up the wreckage of your own confusion. They don't have to explain themselves, they don't have to hear your pain, and they don't have to take responsibility for the hurt they've caused. They just stop. And in that stopping, they relegate you to the category of expendable. The hardest pill to swallow is that you are likely doing this to someone else as well. We are all participants in this cycle of digital ghosting. We curate our responses, we ignore the messages that drain our batteries, and we pretend that our silence is neutral. But the moment you are on the receiving end, the hypocrisy becomes blindingly clear. The silence is only polite when you are the one doing the ignoring. When you are the one waiting, it is a sharp, jagged edge of abandonment. Stop waiting for an apology that will never come. Stop analyzing your last message for faults that don't exist. The scene status is the only feedback you are going to get, and it is more honest than any paragraph they could have written. A person who cares for you would never let you sit in the agony of uncertainty. If they wanted to bridge the gap, they would build a bridge. Instead, they've burned it. You are agonizing over why they didn't finish the conversation, but the truth is that they finished it exactly the way they wanted to, by leaving you completely in the dark. Your obsession with their silence is only giving them more power over your peace of mind. Every time you open that chat window to see if anything has changed, you are handing them another piece of your sanity. You are inviting them to continue their silent abandonment every single day. The moment you realize that their silence is not a mystery to be solved, but a statement of their intent, you become free. It is a brutal realization, yes. It feels like a physical blow to the chest to accept that someone you cared for deemed you worthy of nothing more than a static screen. But there is a strange, cold liberation in that realization. Once you stop expecting a reply, the silence ceases to be a weapon and becomes a mirror. It shows you exactly where you stand. It shows you who is willing to show up for you and who is just passing through your life until a better distraction arrives. You stop wasting time on people who communicate through neglect. You stop romanticizing the people who treat your time like a nuisance. You start to demand the respect of an actual conversation, or at least the decency of an actual goodbye. You realize that you deserve better than the crumbs of a dying connection. The silence isn't a mistake, it's a decision. And once you see that decision for what it is, a cowardly, total, and final severance of the cord, you can finally stop staring at the screen. You can lock the phone, put it down, and walk away from the ghosts you've been chasing. You owe it to yourself to stop waiting for someone who decided you weren't worth the words. Silence is the loudest way to say goodbye. The lack of a reply is the only reply you need.